This is Dr. D and I am back with a Q&A video. This question came from an Instagram follower and it said, how do you deal when you get too attached to people in any kind of relationship? I'm struggling with this. I need to distance myself, but it is hard. First of all, what does that mean? What does it mean to be too attached to someone? As a social science, as a systemic therapist, part of the foundation of the research that's been done, part of the foundation of our work is that we know, it is scientific fact, human beings require attachment for their health and well-being. The more intimacy we're able to have, the more closeness we're able to have, the more relationship, the stronger the bond, the stronger the attachment we have to other human beings, increases our physical health, it increases our psychological health, it increases our spiritual health. So it is difficult for me to think about being too close to someone or too attached to someone as a negative thing. Of course, I am not blind to the realities of codependency or things along those lines. The difference I see there is that that is not because the people are too close. It's the people, the way in which they bond, the way in which they connect to each other is in a very toxic and debilitating way. But attachment, closeness, that trustworthiness, that bond, that togetherness, all those things are good and desirable. So I would want to ask you, if you are here in front of me, to break it down even more. Like, what do you mean by that? What messages have you received? Is it something along the lines of you're too clingy? Or one thing that I notice often in my work is perhaps the distribution of the energy invested in the relationship is uneven. So one person may be more emotionally available. One person may be more willing to be open and transparent. One person may be more willing to be trusting, maybe more willing to be generous, maybe more willing to pour into the other person, while the other person does not reciprocate that same time, does not reciprocate that same attention, does not reciprocate that same level of respect even sometimes. And so that lack of alignment in the attachment or in the bond is where the problem is actually coming from. So it's not from being too attached, but it's from trying to attach to someone that is not emotionally available to you, trying to attach to someone that is not open to connecting with you in a genuine, authentic, transparent, or intimate way. And that is a problem that is easier to solve because we actually see the problem for what it is. Then we can pay attention to, okay, I could see the pattern here. I am trying to connect myself to people who have brick walls around them. And so now I can just shift more of my attention and my energy to people who are more open, who are more inclined to be able to reciprocate my attention and my desire for connection and my desire for communicating and all of those things. And so that's one possibility that I thought of. Another possibility or idea I had is that maybe it could be a mismatch in the use of love languages. So sometimes some people, because of their histories or just personality traits, they just are not comfortable with physical affection. So if you're trying to connect with them through physical affection, they're gonna reject that. They're gonna kind of push you away. And so again, that's probably not so much about being too attached, but just in the way in which you're trying to demonstrate your care for the person isn't in a way that they feel comfortable with. So maybe they're the type of person that's more comfortable with connecting through acts of service or connecting through words of affirmation versus connecting through physical proximity or physical touch. So that's one thing to consider. Could it be it's more about that, a misalignment in the love languages? And the last point that I wanted to discuss about that is that I want to encourage you to practice assertive communication. Sometimes when we receive the messages, whether they're like direct verbal messages or they're kind of like elephant in the room, tension, walking on eggshells. I didn't technically say it, but I hope you're getting the message type of way of saying like you're doing too much, fall back, like what's going on here. I want to encourage you to practice assertive communication for what you need, because your needs in a relationship are just as important as the needs of the other person. And so it sounds like you're getting some kind of feedback from the other person that what you're doing isn't okay or isn't comfortable for them or isn't what they want or looking for, etc., etc. I want to encourage you to practice assertive communication and you saying, you know what? In our relationship with each other, in our bond, whether that's a friendship, family, or romantic, I want us to hang out more, or I want us to speak about like more meaningful conversations, or I want us to, whatever it is that you feel that you need in the relationship, communicate that, because that allows for that reciprocity to be there. So it's good and important that you're taking into consideration what they need to feel more comfortable in the relationship, but it's equally important for you to communicate, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what I desire out of this relationship as well. It sounds like you're someone that values intimacy. It sounds like you're someone that values that genuine connection, not that just like, oh, you know, what was the weather like today or whatever. Like, you want to see someone and like really see them and connect to their souls. And so you being able to communicate that and know that you are worthy of that and seeking that out versus putting other person's discomforts on you and looking at yourself as the problem because you get too attached. Yeah, I wouldn't be a fan of that. So I would push you away from that type of thinking and just encourage you to find more people that are open the way you are and that want to connect at deeper levels the way that you do. So I want to move on to the second half of it, which is I'm struggling with this, the distance piece. I need to distance myself, but it is hard. So one way that I want to encourage you to look at this is kind of on a spectrum, because there's levels to this. There's levels to this distancing. It's not just like cutting them off. It's not just like I need to act like a totally different person. I'm sure if I asked you to make a list of 10 people that you are in relationship with, there are going to be some people that you connect with at different levels and in different contexts, right? Some people you connect with in the spiritual realm. You might go to church together, you might be on the same prayer team or Bible study or whatever. There might be some other people that you connect with when it comes to family. And so, you know, the two of you were raised together and you have a lot of childhood memories together, things like that. There are other people that you probably met at some kind of social event. And so it's like the some kind of community bonding or history that you have together. There are levels of closeness that you have with each of those persons that you don't have with the other. And then with one person that you might be close to family-wise, you might not talk to that person about work as much. So there's distance between like your work self, your work history, and your family one. So I want to encourage you when you're thinking about creating distance with someone that said or suggested like we're too attached or whatever, or you're just like, you know what, I know that for me, this person isn't emotionally available, they're not open to connecting intimately, then it's healthier for me to create some distance. Then think about, okay, I'm distancing myself from them in what contexts, in what areas, and what are the areas in which I still want to maintain connection. So maybe we are people that could talk about the weather, or we are going to have the type of relationship where we could talk about, you know, something new that happened at in the community, or something new that happened at church, or something that went on at work, but we're not going to talk about maybe family histories, or you're not going to be someone that I reach out to talk about some kind of, like, you know, family trouble that I'm dealing with, or something along those lines. So look at it like on a spectrum, recognize like there's levels to it. So I'm going to disconnect from you in this area, I'm going to create a boundary in this area, but we could still be connected in this area. And that typically helps to be able to transition us to creating different types of dynamics in relationships with the people that we have. And the last point that I wanted to add on that was, when you notice yourself distancing or needing to distance and it's hard, it may be because you have a very valid and normal and perfectly healthy human need to be connected to other people authentically. So if this person, it ends up being they're not a good candidate for that connection, then that just means, okay, it's time for me to like redirect my attention and kind of open up my radar and see who can I connect with at that level, who can help me meet that very social need, that very normal need, that very essential need to my just general well-being. So I hope this was helpful, and see y'all next time. Bye.